When the rear suspension upgrade finally hit the tarmac at Mugello, it was supposed to mark a turning point for Ferrari's 2025 campaign, a long-awaited fix to the one flaw that's haunted the SF-25 since Melbourne: ride height instability. But what was meant to be a relaunch felt more like a stall. Behind the wheel, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, two drivers with vastly different temperaments but equally precise feedback loops, delivered a unified verdict: no dramatic gain, no transformed handling, just more of the same. And for a team chasing McLaren's runaway lead and trying to hold off a resurgent Mercedes, that lack of breakthrough couldn't have come at a worse time. Ferrari had bet big on this rear-end revision, pairing it with their Austrian flaw tweak in hopes of clawing back performance they'd been sacrificing for months just to keep the car stable. But during that filming day, limited to demo tyres, fixed setups and promotional constraints, the drivers couldn't feel the lap time delta simulations had promised. And with Spa looming, a sprint weekend with minimal practice time, Ferrari now faces a brutal gamble: debut a highly sensitive upgrade in the most unpredictable conditions of the season, or retreat and concede that 2025 may be another missed opportunity. In that silence after the Mugello run, as the telemetry numbers were studied behind closed doors, it wasn't disappointment that defined the mood. It was doubt. Doubt that the upgrade had moved the needle. Doubt that Ferrari still knows where it's aiming. To understand the gravity of Ferrari's suspension dilemma, we need to look beyond lap times and focus on load distribution, damping curves, and aerosensitivity. The SF-25's Achilles heel has been its inconsistent ride height, a flaw that manifests not only in bottoming out through high-speed corners, but also in compromised aerodynamic efficiency across different track surfaces. Since the disqualification in China due to excessive plank wear, a brutal reminder of how close to the limit Ferrari has been forced to run, the Scuderia has had to raise the car's floor higher than its design intends, dulling its potential through a loss of downforce and straight-line balance. The rear suspension upgrade was engineered to recenter that balance point. In theory, it allows more aggressive rake setups by improving rear-end compliance and load transition during dynamic phases, braking zones, mid-corner pivots, traction exits. But when Hamilton and Leclerc climbed out of the car at Mugello, what they described wasn't a revolution in feedback, but a mild evolution. That's because the real-world data collection was constrained. No race-spec rubber, no qualifying fuel loads, no full-bore setups. Still, Ferrari's simulation suggested a modest gain, around 1/10 per lap, especially when paired with the new flaw introduced in Austria. The bigger question is whether that 10th translates in competitive conditions. Because if it doesn't, the upgrade won't just be ineffective, it'll be disruptive. Ferrari now risks entering Spa with a component that demands setup optimization they won't have time to execute properly, all while Mercedes sits just 12 points behind in the constructors' standings. In a normal weekend, that's manageable. But on a sprint format like Belgium, where only 1 hour of practice precedes Parc Fermé, a misfire here won't just cost performance. It could cost the entire direction of Ferrari's 2025 campaign. What makes this moment even more delicate for Ferrari isn't just the technical risk. It's the human pressure simmering beneath the carbon fibre surface. For Lewis Hamilton, this was supposed to be the Renaissance, a new era. The 7-time world champion didn't leave Mercedes just to trade one midfield headache for another. But with every race, his frustration has become harder to mask. In press conferences, his tone remains polished, but the subtext is clear. This car still doesn't trust him the way great machinery does. And when Hamilton says he feels no difference after Ferrari's flagship upgrade, that's not just driver feedback. That's a psychological warning light. He's been down this road before at Mercedes, watching development windows close before the promise of progress materialized. Now, with just one podium finish to his name and a season that's slipping into strategic ambiguity, he's quietly pushing Maranello to shift focus toward the 2026 car, Project 678. Leclerc, meanwhile, walks a different tightrope. This is still his team, still his identity. But after years of near misses and strategic heartbreaks, he's no longer the rising star with infinite patience. His complaints about steering precision and front-end instability have grown more insistent, especially after Silverstone, where he battled a car that refused to commit at high speed. And though his tone remains diplomatic, Ferrari insiders know the clock is ticking on Leclerc's buy-in. These two drivers, one a legend nearing the twilight, the other a local hero stuck in permanent rebuilding, are aligned in one way. They expected more from this upgrade. Mugello wasn't just a test run, it was a temperature check. And what Ferrari felt from both cockpits wasn't excitement. It was skepticism. The kind that spreads fast inside a garage, already split between fixing today and dreaming of tomorrow. The stakes for Ferrari aren't just emotional, they're numerical, and painfully so. Heading into Spa, the Scuderia sits just 12 points ahead of Mercedes in the fight for second place in the Constructors' Championship. That margin, in modern Formula One terms, is razor thin. A single sprint weekend misstep, a compromised setup, a poor qualifying session, or even a mistimed virtual safety car could swing the balance immediately. And while McLaren continues to surge out of reach with consistent podiums and strategic execution, Ferrari is stuck fighting a two-front war, chasing a team that's already left them behind while defending against a former teammate who knows their weaknesses intimately. Hamilton, for all his frustrations, still scores. Leclerc, despite the steering instability and tyre wear inconsistencies, still drags points out of the car. But the upgrade gamble at Spa could magnify the margins. If the new rear suspension works under race conditions, Ferrari might finally unlock the aggressive setups they've been forced to shelve since Melbourne, opening the door to reclaiming lost tenths in qualifying and regaining race day flexibility. But if it fails to deliver, they risk not just losing second place, but validating Hamilton's quiet push to pivot the development focus to 2026. Every point now has double weight. It's not just about cash payouts and championship standing, it's about leverage in development direction, driver morale, and internal leadership decisions. And at Spa, where conditions change by the lap, that leverage could shift in a single sector. Ferrari has been here before, caught in the limbo between potential and performance, trapped by the weight of its own legacy. The team's history with mid-season upgrades reads like a mixed catalogue of what-ifs. In 2019, an aggressive aero package promised redemption after a slow start, only to unravel with inconsistent correlation between wind tunnel and track data. In 2022, under the new regulations, Ferrari began the season as title contenders, but lost ground through development stagnation and operational errors. And now, in 2025, the pattern feels all too familiar. The suspension upgrade, heralded internally as a possible season relaunch, echoes past attempts at redemption, not least because of the venue itself. Spa-Francorchamps has long served as a reality check for teams chasing balance. It's a track that punishes instability and rewards aerodynamic confidence. When Leclerc won here in 2019, it was with a car that danced across the curves, stable at the rear and planted up front. This year's SF-25, even with its new floor and revised suspension, still seems unsure of itself in fast corners, precisely the kind of weakness Spa exposes without mercy. For Hamilton, the circuit is equally symbolic. His last win came here, albeit inherited in 2024, and it remains the site of some of his fiercest battles. If the car fails him again this weekend, the pressure to abandon 2025 and look ahead will become overwhelming. Ferrari fans know this rhythm: early hope, mid-season questions, late-season regrets. What makes this time different is the driver lineup. Between Hamilton's strategic mind and Leclerc's emotional connection to the team, there's the potential for a renaissance, but only if Ferrari breaks the cycle. Mugello's non-result was a warning. Spa will decide whether it becomes another chapter in the pattern, or the moment they finally rewrite it.